Thank you for watching the screencast for the October Headcount 2024 for charter or lab schools. You will complete this form only if either of the following describe your charter or lab. Your charter or lab operates as a residential facility for students who are neglected or delinquent. Please note that this means that students live or reside at your charter or lab school, meaning they sleep there. Or if your charter or lab shares a campus with a residential facility for students who are neglected or delinquent, and your charter or lab is responsible for providing an education to the students residing in that facility. Again, just to emphasize that a residential facility means that students are living, residing, sleeping at this facility. So if either of those describe your charter or lab school, then you need to complete this data collection. If neither of these describe your charter or lab school, then you do not need to complete this data collection. If one of these scenarios does in fact describe your charter or lab school, you will enter in your name and your email address, followed by the name of your PSU. Next, you will enter your organization number. Question 5 provides the definition of a neglected institution. A neglected institution is a public or private residential facility other than a foster home, operated primarily for the child care of children who have been committed or placed in the institution due to abandonment, neglect, or death of their parents or guardians. Think about whether your charter or lab school is an institution that meets this definition or shares a campus with an institution that meets this definition. It is important to emphasize that to be considered a neglected institution, students must reside or live in the institution. Also, please note that the definition does not include foster homes. Based on the information provided, you will answer whether or not your charter or lab does either of the following: meet the definition of a neglected institution, or provide instruction to students residing in a neglected institution on your campus. If you answer no, then the next question is very similar, but instead focuses on a delinquent institution. A delinquent institution is a public or private residential facility operated for the care of children who have been adjudicated as delinquent or in need of supervision. Think about whether your charter or lab school is an institution that meets this definition or shares a campus with an institution that meets this definition. Please note that to be considered a delinquent institution, students must reside or live in the institution. It is also important to emphasize that students residing there must have been adjudicated, meaning a formal decision by the courts deemed them to be in need of supervision. Based on the information provided, does your charter or lab do either of the following: meet the definition of a delinquent institution, or provide instruction to students residing in a delinquent institution on your campus? If you answer no, then that is the end of this survey. However, if you answer yes, so let's go back and look at the first question asking about a neglected institution. If you were to answer yes, a question would populate asking you to share the name of the neglected institution. This allows us an opportunity to verify. If your charter or lab is the institution, simply list your charter or lab. If your charter or lab shares a campus with a neglected institution, for which you provide instruction, list the name of the institution here. Next, you would report the number of children age 5 through 17 who resided at your charter school or the neglected institution on your campus for at least one day during the collection period. The collection period should run for 30 consecutive days with at least one day falling in the month of October 2024. For example, you may choose to run your count from the middle of September to the middle of October, or the middle of October to the middle of November. You could even start your count on October 31st. As long as at least one day falls in the month of October 2024, you are accurate. Next, you will be prompted, as we already discussed, to think about the definition of a delinquent institution. If, based on the information provided, you are able to answer yes, then you will be prompted to share the name of the delinquent institution for verification purposes. And again, you will report the number of children, age 5 through 17, who resided in your charter school or the delinquent institution on your campus for at least one day during the collection period. After you enter this information, you will click Next, and it will take you to a screen letting you know that is the end of the data collection.